Mike, first of all, tell us about your company and what you guys do.
Yeah, sure. So FedHIVE is what they call a accelerator for compliance. Government, as you know, DoD, federal has all types of compliance issues. We shepherd people through that process and get them to an authorization, an ATO. Most folks have a tough time getting a sponsor nowadays because of budget cuts, et cetera. So we manage that whole process for companies since that's not usually their core.
Has it become more interesting, more complicated? Is your phone ringing off the hook because of AI?
Yeah, well,
or just in general?
Well, just in general because of all the security issues that are coming up, and then of course with AI and the pressure from security and all the attacks on an accelerated rate, how do we have the compliance issues associated with what the government wants, right? Because commercial space has one thing, but the government has these compliance.
Is the government moving quick enough? I mean, this is the question. And David Sachs was AI czar for this administration, also the crypto czar. There has been a lot of discussion just in the last couple of weeks about Anthropic and Mythos and the government's reaction to Fable 5, its latest version of Mythos 4, with the quote-unquote guardrails and the jailbreaking there. Is the government moving quick enough?
So the government is a big beast, and it is moving faster than it's ever moved before.
It is.
Right? So I will say for the 10 years that I've been working in compliance, way faster than it's been before. But is it ever fast enough? As long as they're staying just ahead of the front of the wave, yes. But with Anthropic and all the other issues that you're talking about, they're bringing up more and more concerns.
What are the concerns that brings to you?
For us, we're working, even though our customers pay us, we really work for the government, right? So we are trying to make sure that they're happy and they're aware of what's going on, and that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I guess the question that I have is if you're working with a private company, or you're not having to work with the government, you don't have to move at the speed of you can move at the speed of private enterprise.
That's right.
Moving at the speed of government is a completely different story. So are you dealing with like antiquated systems, antiquated rules and regulations, antiquated technology?
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of this kind of firestorm of make compliance easier, keep the security high. We've got these new things accelerating through. We want innovation into the government. How do we get that without lowering the bar on security? So all of those pieces are coming into play.
When it comes to guardrails and protecting all of that data and information that is being collected and thrown into AI models and played with, and hopefully coming out with some ROI at the other side of it, what can we learn from sovereign AI and what's going on that can be applied more broadly?
That's a great word. That's been being bandied around more and more, the sovereign data discussion. So the government requires everything to be inside of a boundary, right? Like you have a playground and you can do everything in the playground, but nothing can leak out. But we have these interactions with all of these different services from the hyperscalers and all those products. That's what makes it really difficult, because in the commercial world, like you said, you can use whatever you want, try it out, break it fast, figure it out.
Yeah.
But in the government, a lot of PII in the federal side, a lot of...
What's PII?
Personal information, personal identifiable information. And then on the government side is their data too, where you have real kinetic issues, right? So all of that data is really sensitive, and you can't really afford to make that break fast, kind of move forward kind of thing, because the data is too expensive, from a...
So no lessons to be learned?
So... The government's always been trying to be more conservative and not allow the data out as fast, which then goes to the, how do we get more innovative stuff in? And so there's this push-pull on all the time. That's part of the problem. And there's a lot of lessons being learned. Yes.
Well, I'm curious about China and Gulf nations, for example. Right. You bring up the sovereign AI discussion, Carol, and we can't have this discussion in a vacuum. We're only thinking about the U.S.
Right.
So in terms of what China's doing, in terms of what the Gulf nations are doing, what other countries around the world are doing with this technology and with this AI, when you understand what the U.S. government is doing, does it seem like we're in a competitive position with how we're handling it?
Well, the U.S. government really forces us to keep everything in our boundary, the U.S. continental U.S. boundary, right? Chips and everything. We work with the ITAR, the regulations for putting chips outside of the U.S., so we work with the Commerce Department and that sort of thing. So we are always trying to keep the technology inside of our...
Does that constrain you in a way that other countries are not constrained.
Well, yeah, because you don't have that multinational kind of amalgamation of these different countries doing all this work. We have to keep it inside of our shores. So yes, technologically that could affect us, but the security aspect of the technology is something that we're worried about.
Hey, Mike, some of the conversations that we've had too is what's going on at the kind of C-suite level, board level. What are the conversations that leaders at companies or institutions should be having at a very senior level when it comes to compliance and security, especially with all of the work that's being done in AI at those institutions?
Yeah, most of the discussions that I'm having when I'm talking to leadership is about the risk aspect of it. What's the risk and liability for the organization? And so we, as that shepherd, we look at what are your operational securities and how does that affect your compliance, right? Because it's a defensible situation with regard to your compliance. There's always that the battle of the enemy versus us and attacking the security.
Right.
So there's always going to be an attack.
What's the AI return on investment for taxpayers? And I ask that as all of us are the ones paying the bill, basically, for migration of data and IT.
It always comes down to that.
Does it mean that we're going to get our passports faster? Does it mean what does it mean?
Frictionless, when you're dealing with the government. We're just,
I do appreciate you putting me in that box. It's very nice of you. What we see is incremental efficiencies with
Tim
regard to...
Mike,
right.
I'm just going to say.
Exactly. What we're seeing is incremental efficiencies and speed, and what it's allowing us to do, for instance, is to move folks to other areas of the organization so that we can add more better customer experience and faster to market and those types of things. So I see that being what we're allowing our customers, which are the ISVs, the cloud customers, going into the government, which then allows the government to be able to be faster with these new technology tools. How's that?
That sounds good.
That's okay. Good.
I'm ready.
Good.
That sounds like
faster,
AI
more efficient
productivity
government.
to the government. All right.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Yep.